All right, we should be recording now. And I'd just like to say hi to anyone that might be watching or listening to this. If you've listened to my Streets of Avalon game, this is a new game that I've started with some great people here. And we are going to be playing the Quest RPG, but we are going to be playing it using Eberron as our setting. And basically, I wanted to get a chance to run an Eberron game and play Quest, so I thought it might be a good combination. And these people were good enough to indulge me in that. So I am now going to have my players introduce themselves, and let's start with John.
Hi, I'm John Carney.
All right, that was a quick introduction.
That's
Thanks,
a quick
John.
introduction. Yeah, I'm a long-time role player. I like Eberron, like learning new systems, so I'm excited to sit down and try something new.
Awesome. PK, how about you?
Yeah, I'm PK Sullivan, a sometime game designer. I've worked on Cortex and Fate, Fate of Cthulhu, and Fate Condensed are my two big projects most recently. So you can find my work there. Hey, all right.
Mine's up there on the shelf.
All right, let's go with Schmitty.
Hi, I'm Schmitty. I don't do anything as cool as PK does. But PK is the reason I'm playing role-playing games nowadays. So, we can say that much.
Yay.
Also, Schmitty is awesome at conventions.
I go to many of them.
Well, not this year.
Yes, not this year. But normally, I like to attend many of them.
All right, and those of you that have seen any of my other videos, you might know him already. Bob?
Hi, I'm Bob Everson. I am, as Jared said, in his Streets of Avalon game. I am also from Gnome Stew, Misdirected Mark podcast, and Encoded Designs. And I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to playing some Quest.
All right, that is awesome. Before we get going, I thought I would go over, before we start playing, I wanted to make sure to collect everyone's lines and veils. So I wanted to go over those so everybody that's watching or listening knows them. And so everybody who's playing has them in their minds. So, so for our veils, we have explicit sex, explicit torture, spiders, and graphic depictions of drowning. And I think that's a good collection. And does anybody have anything they want to add to any of that?
I mean, I would rather there not be any torture. Personally,
yeah. I was gonna say I'm thinking of this more as like if you hear of like this, some Emerald Claw agent having done it, not on screen, but that,
yeah, that
players aren't doing it.
Yeah, no players doing it, but yeah,
on either end.
Yeah,
okay,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Inferences to torture as demonstrating that bad guys are bad.
Yeah,
I get that. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. And that's why I want to go over this just to make sure we get all of the nuances there cleared up. And then for our lines, we have sexual assault, sexual abuse, and violence against children or animals. And again, these all sound very good to me. The only thing I like to bring up when someone has a line for animals, does animals include all animals? Does it include more domesticated animals? Like if a giant crocodile is trying to eat your face, are you okay with that in a combat scenario? But you just don't want to see like dogs and cats get injured. I just wanted to kind of open that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if it's some kind of monstrous type of animal, I'm less against beating it in the head if it's trying to kill me, especially.
Sure.
Yep, I just wanted to make sure we were all clear and on the same page with that. Thank you all for that. All right, let's go through a little bit of our outline for our session 0. Before we do too much with characters, what I wanted to check in with everybody is, do you have a particular part of Eberron that you would like to explore? Like my brain kind of snaps to either Sharn or Stormreach as a base of operations and then kind of branching out from there. So Sharn is a lot more of the noirish kind of, sort of stories where you can do that. Stormreach is a lot more frontier, anything goes type, place. And it also opens up on Zendrick, which has all of the ancient ruins and things like that. And it's Eberron, so it's not like if you pick one or the other, you couldn't end up, globe hopping. I just wanted to get kind of an idea so that we have our starting point that we can kind of go from.
I think that comes down to more than, I guess, kind of what kind of game we're looking at playing, more than anything.
Yeah.
That is true. Let me flip this around then. I was looking at areas, but I also was going to ask everyone, one of the things that I really like out of the 5th edition Eberron book is the idea of patrons, and patrons kind of show you what type of adventuring group you're going to be. Not necessarily that you're beholden to them, but it kind of gives you a good working list of what your adventuring company is going to look like. So I will just run through the examples that they have in that book. They have members of an adventuring guild, people that work for a crime syndicate, people that work for a dragon-marked house, people that work for an espionage agency, people that work for a head of state, people that work for an immortal being, an inquisitive agency, which is, that's fun there. Not to bias anyone, but, private investigators. I'm cool with that. Military force, people that work for a newspaper. That's another one I really kind of like.
Saw that.
People that work for a religious order, or people that work for a university. So do any of those style of adventuring companies sound more or less interesting to anyone?
I love the idea of a newspaper, which is sort of a twist on the detective agency thing, because it's investigation, but it's for publication. So
it's still fairly like independent. That's kind of my opinion against House of State or Dragonmark houses. They're kind of like, they're a little rigid. If we're like actually part of them, if we just like work for them occasionally, that's a different discussion. But I like to be able to keep the morals loose, so to speak, depending on where we line up with society and how we feel as beings. I was going to say humans, but we may not all be humans.
That's true too.
There's also an element of societal power involved with a few of those. So military, heads of state, espionage agencies, you're all involved with legal entities, things like that, with powerful people.
Yeah.
I like that an investigative agency or a newspaper is a little more scrappy. Like you can't trust that they'll be able to get you out of the trouble, so you have to be a little bit more Indiana Jones about it.
Yeah.
What
about you, Bob?
That all sounds really good. I'm kind of intrigued by the newspaper idea.
So, how does everyone okay with working for a newspaper?
Yeah, I could do a newspaper.
I'm in.
That'd be fun.
All right.
Cool.
That is going to be a fun twist, because then I can send you to different places to cover different stories and get you into all sorts of trouble there, and that'll be a lot of fun. Now that we have gone through that, I think Sharn is probably a better place for that, but at the same time, I'm still open to any discussion if somebody has other ideas.
So just a quick recap. Sharn is also called the City of Towers.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, if you mention Sharn around John Arcadian, he will tell you have to say the City of Towers after saying Sharn.
That might be where I gleaned that bit of information.
Funny enough, I was looking for a map of Eberron the other day and stumbled upon his map on accident, and then was like, I wonder who made this. Oh, John Arcadian. Sounds great.
So does Sharn sound good, or do we want to be like an enterprising newspaper in a pirate city of Stormreach?
I mean, that's a little Ankh-Morpork.
Yeah.
Right? Like the newspaper in the pirate den. Which, I mean, isn't bad. Just,
and
it would probably informed the tone of the campaign.
Oh yeah, and
Fair bit.
there's nothing that says that you may not get sent to Stormreach to cover a story too.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Sharn is
Sharn's
definitely a good
place
fit
to.
for a newspaper. That's-
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think Sharn's at least a good jumping off point too, especially since this will be the first time I'm running Eberron, and Sharn has a whole bunch of background material on it, so there's a lot to draw on there. All right, so we have our style of adventuring group, and we have where we're going to be based out of. Here is another question. In Quest, when you make your characters, there is no distinct set of rules about ancestry. You just describe yourself however your character is. That having been said, is anyone interested in playing a dragon marked character? Not necessarily somebody that's directly working for their house, but somebody that does have a dragon mark. And we don't have to do that, but because it's an element of the setting, I thought I would check in and see if anybody was interested in that.
I'm going to pass on that. Been there, done that. So I'm going to go without.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on as well. I want a little bit more of a commoner
Yeah.
kind of character.
I'm good. I'm the dragon marked.
I'm going to pass, but for a more practical reason of I don't know enough about them in their current iteration to effectively play one, and I don't really want to go digging through all the stuff to figure it out.
And honestly, if we're doing these scrappy newspaper reporters, it's probably less imperative to get that aspect of the Eberron story, included too. So
yeah, I mean there is a neat story hook there where you have somebody who has a dragon mark and is sort of heir to this legacy of power and the ruling classes, and is choosing not to do that.
Yeah.
But we don't have to tell that story.
Yeah.
That's the editor.
The EIC.
So on a very broad level, does anyone have a character concept yet?
So since this is Eberron, they are famous for having the Warforged, but I've always been fascinated by the Shifters. So I've played Warforged in the past. Was thinking about playing a Shifter in this game, and if we're doing a newspaper, a Shifter investigative reporter, sort of the person who tracks down the leads and sort of take the idea of a hunter or a tracker and apply it towards journalism in the bustling city as just a brief idea.
All right. Does anybody else have an idea of ancestry or concept going from that direction there?
All I'm trying to do right now is not make the exact same character I'm playing in my other Eberron game, and so you got to give me a sec.
That is all right.
I'm currently leaning towards something in the area of dwarven fighter type.
Okay.
But I am flexible enough that if someone else really wanted to go into the fighter type area and we wanted to broaden out, I could jump over to something else. So whatever everybody else wants, that will help forge.
I was thinking like gnome magician type.
Cool.
Who uses mostly his magic to get people to reveal things they might not ordinarily reveal, not in a coercive way, but in a clever way.
That sounds good.
All right. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm still kind of thinking, see what I can come up with in my brain.
That's okay. I will ask some follow-up questions here. So, Bob, this is kind of a newer element that they've thrown into dwarves, and I don't know if you will. I'm dropping change.
That's according to your GM.
Yep. Except I tossed it to myself, so it's not as satisfying. Anyway, there was a new element that they threw in that some of the dwarven clans from the Maror holds are considered rune-bound dwarves, like ruin are as in RUIN. And what that means is they actually have some mutations from the aberrations that they have fought down in the depths of of Kyber fighting off things that are attacking their holds. Do you want to be that type of dwarf, or do you want to be one of the other clans that has not quite gone that route?
That is an interesting idea. And I think if I come up with an interesting idea for a mutation, I might do that. I think I'll let that just develop organically as we're creating.
All right. So here's a pointed question for you, John. If you're playing a gnome, and gnomes in Eberron tend to be very espionage-y and assassin-y. Obviously, not all gnomes have to be that way, but it's kind of a thing that other people view them that way. Did you have any of that in your background, or?
Yes, I believe I did have that in my background, and I walked away from it. So I'm not always welcome in the gnomish community for that reason.
All right.
And in fact, since we're doing the newspaper thing, let's say I even wrote a book about it, and I'm a little even outcast. Let's try that.
I like that.
Well,
Gnome tell all. I like it. PK, what type of shifter are you picturing? What kind of animal traits? What kind of?
Yeah, I was gonna say, from what I remember, there was like the wolf strain and the large cat strain.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of opened it up to where, it's more like, the stronger or the pouncier, and you can flavor it with different, a lot of it is, they kind of have described them with all of the traditional D&D lycanthrope traits, depending on, what strain you might be, and those could still fall within the same things. But
okay,
yeah, how are you envisioning?
Since I'm sort of going for a riff on a bloodhound sort of idea,
Mm-hmm.
probably wolf based,
right.
scent based predator, so something in the canine family.
All right, that sounds good. Schmitty, how you doing?
I'm thinking like a halfling who has a lot of connections in the underground.
Mm-hmm.
Not like explicitly like in the crime families or anything, but like knows a lot of the way around there, has existed among them in one capacity or another for a long time, and probably isn't like they're part of our newspaper, but not in like they're not like a writer. They're like someone else who's in there and like is a source for them, but is explicitly trying to not be like the author on an article, to be like outed in the underworld of like leaking copious information to the news.
Okay, so you're either a cub reporter, or you are just like a super highly placed informant.
Yeah. What was the first one?
Cub reporter. So a cub reporter is somebody who does the legwork and hasn't established themselves yet. So they don't get the byline.
Yeah, you're not going to have a byline. You just do some work on it.
They get sent out and do the legwork of talking to people, taking notes, getting the information, and then they bring it back to the person who writes the article.
Yeah, that's definitely what I am.
That sounds good. I'm liking our team so far. So we have the halfling with the connections that does not seem to want to have their name on the byline.
Nope. It's a very strange situation for her to be in, but she definitely doesn't want to be on the title page of anything.
It's almost like the flip side of how John was describing his gnome for being known for.
Yes.
I like that. That's doing good so far. What are we thinking about the character roles? What would be classes in other games? And do you want me to run through? And you know what? I'm going to run through them for anyone that's watching or listening. So in Quest, the roles that they have are Fighter, which is self-evident there. Invoker, which is sort of a cleric paladin type, but also a little bit like the invokers from 4th edition, where you are getting divine power, but it's a lot more in your face kind of divine power, not, as much Healy type divine power. There are rangers, which again, pretty self-evident. Naturalists are essentially the druids of the quest setting. Doctors are interesting because doctors are basically scientists that learn how to supernaturally heal people and play with. They are kind of scientist necromancers. Magicians are very much magic users that specialize in illusion. Spies are essentially like rogues, but they are very canted towards doing the observation, breaking into places, obtaining things. It's more like the operative spin on it than it is just the necessarily, just crime based or thieves guild type. And they have a lot of abilities that let them use like magical gadgets that look like kind of modern spycraft gadgets. And then the wizard is pretty much the traditional, you have a wider range of utility and blow people up abilities. So from those archetypes, what are people thinking for their characters here?
I'm feeling spy fits my character concept pretty on the nose.
All right, that sounds good.
Same with me.
All right.
Because there's enough abilities there.
Oh yeah.
The spy is where tracking and sort of stealth come in. That's not really a part of the ranger as much. So
yeah, and if anybody is not familiar with Quest, there are basically different ability trees that each of the roles have, so you can customize within those pretty well. So there's a lot of variability that you can come up with even with two people taking the same role. So I'm interested to see how that works out with your characters there. What are you thinking, Bob? You mentioned fighter. Do you want to stay with that or?
Yep.
Okay.
Stick with fighter.
All right. And John, you mentioned magician. Did you mean magician as in this role or just?
I meant magician as a role, I think, for sure. Because I was thinking in my tell-all book when I wrote about how the Zilgaro gnomes used simple illusory magic to carry out assassinations, like making it seem like a bridge was there when it wasn't, or some sort of vehicle wasn't there when it was. That didn't go very well with my clan. So probably a misdirection magician type, that kind of thing.
That sounds cool. I like it. I am liking this so far. We've got a lot of really good ideas there. I'm not going to press for names because that might be something easier to come up with, when you have some downtime to. But I did want to have concepts in place for something else I want to do later. I don't want everyone to have to do this now, but I kind of wanted to go through what they ask you on your character sheet in Quest. And basically, after you choose your role, you will mention what people first notice about you, and they give some examples in the book. And then they mention, what you wear and what you move with, where you're from and what your people are known for. And then it goes into different things that you believe in and different things that are flaws. And then you'll also pick a dream that you are working towards. So those are all be things, we don't necessarily have to go through that on in this video, but just for anyone that's watching this, that's going to be the type of thing that you flesh out, because there's a lot of story-based elements to Quest. And I think those are pretty good, pretty solid way of getting some snapshots of what a character is going to look like and how they're going to be motivated for things. It's going to give me as a GM some things to dig into and throw back out at them. Although, much like my Streets of Avalon game so far, you guys are giving me some great stuff so far. I am really excited. But so we have and also, just so everyone else knows, everybody will be picking these whenever they get a chance to pick these, but from those trees that are available to each of the roles, you will pick 6 abilities, and those 6 abilities are your starting abilities. The way advancement works in this game is after each session, you pick another ability. If you did something very major and epic, instead of picking a regular ability, there is a special tree that just has epic abilities.
Nice.
And that's not necessarily something you're going to get that often, but if you do something really major, you might get something like that. The naturalist gets like one that is completely ridiculous, and I love it, but basically the naturalist gets the ability, they don't have to do this, but if they ever want to, they can basically set off a Genesis wave across the planet and turn it all back to nature and destroy all civilization, but it doesn't harm any sentient beings. It just destroys all the buildings and technology and everything and sets the world. So not all of them are quite that major, but that's an example of some of the, like, if I wanted to, I could do this. So now that we have everybody's theme, at least, the germ of those themes, what I would like to do is, this is actually something that I really like, that I'm stealing from Tracy Barnett's Iron Edda. They did a great job of doing this character tie-in thing where you do just a quick thing where one person has a connection to another person, they have a connection to another person, and it just forms a circle there. So what I'd like to start with is I'm going to have John give us a connection to Schmitty's character, and then we'll go from there. So what would you like your connection to Schmitty's character to be?
Schmitty, and of course I'll ask permission, do you want to be my junior reporter and I'll be the wizened veteran reporter?
That is fine with me.
Excellent. Let's do that.
All right. That is a good connection. So like when you first started kind of being used as a informant for the paper, that's just kind of a natural thing for the wizened old reporter to kind of gravitate to you and take you under the
wing. The types of things I investigated, the types of things his articles were about at that time, probably still at this point. Things like that probably gives us a good connection to each other.
I could be in a bit of a rut.
Oh,
I could be. Maybe I need to be jolted out of that rut a little bit. Maybe.
I like it.
I can always provide some interesting information.
All right, then. Smitty, would you like to give me a way that you are connected to PK's shifter character?
Yeah, I feel like how above the board are you, PK, your character?
So I was thinking my character probably investigates dirty politicians and organized crime. So like my character is very above the board, but also very low key. Mm-hmm. Like he's generally pretty clean cut because, the people he's working to take down need to be, and he's sort of working that righteous justice angle, but he also wants to keep a somewhat low profile because the sorts of articles he writes are not popular amongst powerful people.
I feel like
that he's not against bending some laws pretty significantly here and
there. Sure. I feel like my character has used the services of your character in the past but taking them to a level that you probably didn't expect or want them to, but you didn't know what was going on, because I was at that point like working in the underground like before I joined the newspaper. But you are very renowned in certain circles for your ability to get information, I think. If that's cool with you, obviously. Yeah. And so then in the past, I've used your services a few times, and I think by like the second or third time you've caught on to what was going on, and that we kind of like butted heads about you not wanting to do that type of give that type of information to me, right? Knowing what I might do with it.
I think that's probably a two-way street though.
Okay.
Because part of the way that I would get information is working with people in the underground, which is probably why I keep doing things for you, even though I know you're not going to be the most above board about things with them. But, you know, so when I need information, it's not always breaking and entering. Sometimes you got to talk to people,
and they break and enter. You know.
Yeah, and you also know a lot of people.
I know a lot of people, and know what conversations are being had and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is probably a lot of quid pro quo.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
All right. PK, how? Excuse me. How do you know Bob's character?
So Bob is our fighter. What are you doing for the paper if you're the dwarven fighter?
Well, one possibility is that sometimes you guys get into situations that are with some less than savory characters. So it's nice to have some muscle around.
Okay. I don't want to end up giving you your connection to John, but I was just going to say, with everything else that's kind of come up here, I can almost picture your character being hired as his bodyguard. Because
I was definitely thinking along those lines already. Yeah. So
I don't need a bodyguard.
Yes, I do. The paper has given you a bodyguard.
The paper has made me take the bodyguard.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. So maybe when I started kicking some hornets' nests, the paper was like, we should really have somebody on staff who can handle themselves in a fight, and sort of started hiring people to deploy, maybe even surreptitiously at first, to like follow some of the reporters who were getting into trouble. So I think if it's cool with Bob, maybe he was hired as one of them, and maybe he was initially hired as like the door guard in the building who stays there but was really effectively a bouncer for anybody picking up our tails or following
that
us.
Sounds good.
All right. Then you probably were following me, and we had a bit of a tiff about that, because my character would not take kindly to being followed.
Just doing my job.
Yeah, and I get that. And then I probably had a blow up with the editor, but I think we've come to a respecting work camaraderie there. Because honestly, I probably did get in over my head, and you probably bailed me out.
All right, I like that. So Bob, is there any other nuance you want to throw on to your connection to John's character?
I think just to spice things up a little bit, I think at one point I was keeping an eye on John's character in the early stages of my work, and I'm kind of reluctant to look after this particular person because of their attitude and maybe their recklessness or my perceived interpretation of their recklessness. And then they, the powers that be said, "Oh, we want you to be bodyguard for this person." And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, could it have to do with his background? Because it sounds like he did some pretty unsavory things before he got out of whatever he was involved with.
What do you think, John?
I don't talk about that with non-gnomes.
You've never been to Rote?
Never.
I actually, so I was going to do another round of things like based on some stuff that, I picked up on this. So I'll start with John here. How do you feel about knowing that there is an open contract on you? Like there is a well known in like assassin espionage circles assassin that is specifically targeting you, and you've kind of been lucky so far that they haven't zeroed in on you.
So it's two sides to that. To anyone who sees me, I am self-righteous about that, like it justified what I did. To people that know me, they know that I'm probably very scared and just won't talk about it.
All right. I like that. I'm not saying that NPC would show up, but I mean,
Definitely not.
Not saying that.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that I'm an orphan from a long line of orphans. Important that we get that established now.
You mean any D&D character?
Exactly. Your orphanage burned to the ground. Oh, you got me.
So
Totally wasn't our fault.
So Smitty,
Yes.
you have underworld ties, but you aren't underworldy yourself. Am I correct in that?
I'm not deep in the underworld myself. I'm definitely there though.
He's
Yeah.
not running the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't have any pull, but you have contacts.
Yeah, from a reference
Yes.
to our Star Trek watching recently, think Below Decks, right? I'm like an ensign in that stack, right? I don't know what's going on, and I'm doing stuff, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, but I'm getting a lot of information about what's going on. But I don't always know the whole story.
So another question I was going to dig into here with you being a halfling. Are you native to Sharn, or did you come here from like the Talenta Plains and kind of get adopted into the family, so to speak?
I think I grew up in Sharn.
Okay.
Definitely grew up in the area. I know it really helps establish me knowing a lot of people, a lot of what's going on. One of the reasons that the various crime syndicates have liked me is that I'm good at making friends quickly. So I can kind of buddy up to a lot of people, and they seem to, at least on a surface level, I can make friends pretty quick.
All right. So definitely going to have some fun coming up with like some of your contacts.
Mm-hmm.
They're yeah, I have some ideas. I'll unroll them as I sort through them a little bit. PK, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
There is a particularly zealous part of the Church of the Silver Flame that is really anti-shifter because of the crusade against the lycanthropes. Is that something that would play into your character's mindset at all?
It might play into him not being religious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is D&D. It's weird for any character to be an atheist, but just not practicing.
It is a little easier in Eberron though, because gods don't show up literally.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting, just as a contextual thing that they kind of pointed out in some of the more recent Eberron material, is it was always kind of assumed before that shifters are descended from lycanthropes, and that's not actually the case. There were shifters first, and because of a curse, some of them turned into lycanthropes. And that is actually something they've kind of played up, that for some shifters, that's like a big annoying assumption that people make about them. So
Gotcha.
I didn't know if that was something else you wanted to play with there, or if that sounded like a
with that information, yeah, he's if anybody does refer to him as a lycanthrope, he's probably going to not take it well, because that's offensive.
All right. Bob, have you decided whether you are a Ruinbound dwarf or not?
I'm going to say no. I mean, yes, I have decided. No, I'm not.
Going to say that I definitely am still thinking about it now. Okay. One of the things I was going to ask then, this is another cultural thing that they kind of have touched on in some of the more recent material, is some of the dwarf clans are very against using anything that they have salvaged from the Dalekir, and some of the clans, even if they haven't been mutated or anything, have started adapting that technology. So they will have like a spine thrower that like attaches to their arm that they have built out of, you know, things that they found down there. Were you from a clan that was vehemently against that, or was open to that sort of thing, or?
I don't think we had any particular aversion to it. My clan, what I was thinking was they are known for their creativity. And so, you know, if people like, you know, went down that road, sure, fine, you know, that's cool. And others just express it in different ways.
All right. Did your character have anything to do with like the banking industry? You know, even from a standpoint of like, you know, being guards for since that's kind of House Kundarak's big claim to fame there.
I would say probably not.
Okay. All right. So that is some good stuff. I appreciate that. Does anybody else have any other things that you want to throw out about your characters that's kind of gelled while you're thinking about this?
Yeah, I realize since I'm doing a shifter reporter in sort of a noir tinged D&D setting, my character, it probably looks the way Bigby Wolf is portrayed in the comic Fables. So I shared a picture of that to the group chat for anybody who is unfamiliar with that comic.
I was about to
Gotcha.
go Google it, and then you were like, "Here it is." Nice.
I like it. Yeah, you know what? How does everyone picture their character looking now that PK had a good idea for visualizing his character? Like, what kind of clothes do you wear? How's your, you know, do you have any thoughts on style, presentation?
I don't know what her name is yet, but I am imagining her wearing what I have lovingly started referring to on many of my characters as stompy ass kicking boots, and like a subtle but bitchin' leather jacket. And she's got like the faded, like the one side shaved haircut.
I like it.
Cool.
What about your? Oh, okay.
What was that?
No, I was just. Yeah. What do you got, Bob?
I am, of course, being a dwarf, I am short. So no surprise there. I kind of, I was looking through all of the choices, the suggestions in the quest book. I've got an eternal grimace, which sounded very appealing to me. Runes in my hair, specifically runes on beads, braided through my beard, which is knee length, which isn't super long for a dwarf, but
That's a solid 8 inches.
And a pair of ornate obsidian bracers, which is one of the works of art, one of the great works of art that my clan is known for, working
Nice.
obsidian.
That sounds snazzy. John, is there anything distinctive about your gnome style?
Yeah, I think from a dress perspective, from an apparel perspective, definitely thinking like Mark Ruffalo from Zodiac kind of vibe. So, you know, it's a kind of a stained white shirt with a tie that's never quite tied straight, and it's a bit frumpy. It's that kind of not quite disheveled, but not the most important thing I do when I wake up.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got some nice bow ties.
Could be some bow tie. Yeah, there could be a bow tie. And the days I probably put myself together and feel like I'm a gnome, then I probably get the bow tie out. The rest of the time, it's something weirder. Yeah.
All right, I like that. I'm excited about all this. So we have connections. We have our core ideas for everyone. I am going to I'll start filling in some of the details that we came up with into a Google Sheet that I will share with everyone, because I like having that common thing. Once we name someone, I like putting it in there where it's like, hey, the name we came up with is here. So that I don't rename the person 3 times in 3 different sessions. Not that I have ever done anything like that. So yeah, I'll get that shared out. And Bob, he has seen this in my Streets of Avalon game, but like as we get like specific, like campaign specific locations and things like that, I'll start filling that in too. So like if we need to think of, okay, where's our usual coffee shop, then that'll be a thing that's in the that's in there. And I think I'm going to do that too. Sharn is big enough. I'm going to do again something that I did in the Streets of Avalon game. I'd like everyone to come up with a place that your character is used to in Sharn somewhere. Like what type of establishment or park or something that your character is familiar with in Sharn. And we'll, start building out our particular versions of things from there. So, does anybody have a thought for that to go first?
sure.
Okay.
There's a bar, because there's always a bar.
Damn it, Bob.
Did I just bogart your idea?
Yeah.
What's funny is I was like, I'm going to be a bar. I was like, no. I got to pick something different. Someone else is going to pick bar.
Oh,
It's all right.
Yeah.
I can work with something different.
all right. I was thinking it's not the best place. I think it's got like a name like the Broken Mug, which kind of tells you something right off the bat. It's not total trash, but it's not upscale. But it's a good place to hang out. It's warm, good ale, and occasionally a good meal.
All right. So since PK's idea got scuttled there, I'll go to let's see, Smitty, do you have an idea yet?
I was thinking somewhere in one of the more criminally influenced areas of Sharn. There is a like a sandwich shop I frequent, and I know the owner. And he knows my order when I come in, that kind of relationship. And I use it often as a reason to be in the neighborhood.
All right.
Because sometimes, you gotta justify yourself while you're in the wrong turf, so to speak. So it gives me a reason to be in different parts, because it's not necessarily super close to where I live. But it gives me a good reason to be elsewhere in the city.
Okay.
What is the go-to sandwich there?
I'm trying to figure out what the equivalent of like an Italian would be, but the Italian wouldn't be it because there's no Italy. But yeah, something definitely like cured meat style sandwich, with some hard to find peppers on it, is the important part about going there. And of course, the sauce that he makes every morning, and will not tell anyone what's in it.
Proprietary.
Yes.
All right. I like it. I like having restaurant type places contacts, especially in Eberron. That feels like, restaurant more than, just tavern. Feels a little more like moving towards that, slightly more modern feel
era.
to it.
Modern, bustling city kind of feel.
Yeah.
So, John, do you have an idea for a location?
I was definitely thinking restaurant. Not too far from the office, maybe 2 blocks away. There's a 24-hour diner called Ellie's. And Ellie is a warforged who runs the place. And I frequent that quite a bit because I live upstairs. I rent a room from Ellie above the diner. And the reason I do that is because it's 24 hours. The only way to get to my room is to walk through the restaurant. And I think that makes me feel safe.
I like that. I like it. And it gives me a built-in Warforged NPC to start using too. So, so I appreciate that. PK, have you recovered from Bob stealing your idea?
Yeah, and then Schmitty actually sort of promptly swooped my next idea because I was gonna lean in hard on the noir investigative reporter angle and have like a hot dog stand or something. But since we already have a sandwich shop, I'm going to pivot again and say that there is a small theater or concert hall.
Okay.
Not a big one,
Cool.
not where they do opera or anything, but sort of more of like the jazz ensemble sort of place where, you'll have 3 people on stage playing their music. It is dimly lit. The drinks are potent and yet still fairly cheap. No food. Probably lots of smoke in the air, just for vibe.
I like it. That is great. We have some great locations there. Does anyone else have anything else that you want to come up with?
Well, we'll need to define the newsroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
An open space, desks, that kind of thing. We'll need to define that at some point for sure.
Yeah, and my question is, what is the technological level of Sharn or of Eberron? Do we have typewriters or
there is I believe the technological level, even though it is done with magic in most cases other than technology, that Keith Baker has mentioned is around the turn of the century.
Okay.
So I am thinking around 1900 you would have some.
Yeah, there were typewriters at that point in time.
Typewriters, magical carbon paper.
Oh,
The printing presses are a place nobody goes, but that's got to be the most magical place in the building, right?
Well, yeah,
it's all driven by the harnessed electric elementals, right?
And goblins run their printing presses.
Oh God, yes.
Artificers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It frightens me.
So do we
Heaven help
print
the
our
night
own?
editor.
Are we actually like the printing house as well, or do we outsource our printing?
At that level of technology, it would have to be we would own the presses and run it all ourselves.
I think so. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
All right.
There's a weird relationship between the printers and then the reporting staff. It's a rivalry. There's probably a softball game once a year. It's very weird.
Well, I was gonna say as the variation on the Star Trek thing, you could actually have the basement printing press turns into a dungeon because of accidents with the magic going on there too.
Oops.
It's like, oh, some of the elementals got out and there's some problems.
Messy.
We need to make sure we don't miss our deadline. So does anyone have an idea for your editor-in-chief?
I had a thought about that. I think
I can't not think of J.J. Jameson, but I understand if no one wants that.
I was thinking more like disembodied editor. Like he never really got a name. He's just the editor, and it was
Like
almost
the first boss in the Drew Carey show.
Yeah,
it
or
was
maybe even
voiced by Kevin Pollak, and all you ever heard was shouting from
was
the
shouting, or like Charlie's Angels, you only hear it through
Yeah.
a speakerphone, something like that. That's what I was thinking. But I mean, Jonah Jameson's always really good. That's
I was leaning a little more Perry White.
Yeah,
Sort of somebody who
not quite as unreasonable, but also still excitable.
yeah,
right.
somewhere between editor and cliched police captain.
Yeah. Which I think fits Eberron pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What ancestry would this editor be?
Half orc.
I was having the exact same thought.
I like it.
I want it to be surprising and not the typical thing, and would lean into the blustery nature.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think that's
I love it.
That'll work out really well. I appreciate that.
I hope you have enough furniture to chew.
Ongoing joke. There's a desk gets delivered about every other week to his office.
Shows up
to the new desk because we need a new one.
Well, I also like the other thing, mentioning the goblins, working on the printing press. One of the things that they talked about is of the things that are actually technologically devised, goblins are more likely to build actual technology than most people. Like, the artillery and rifles and such used in the last war tended to be like, wands and staves that like amplified magic. But like goblins have actually started working on making guns, like literal guns, not magical guns. So there is that kind of element there going on that I kind of like too.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. My brain is going off here, but I want to set the stage for the newspaper. I can actually see like the artificer that is running the magical part of it getting into fights with the technician that is actually trying to do the more scientific side of the printing press. So just fleshing out the people that work there. All right. Last thing, because this I couldn't not think of this once we started thinking about Perry White, but is there a Lois Lane that is trying to outdo your group for stories as a rival? I
think there has to be.
Yeah.
Or a Larry Lane.
We need to have our newsroom rival. Like, that's just classic. It's a classic story trope for if you're telling a story set in a newsroom. We definitely need somebody who is real ambitious and has the talent to back it up and is
very competent. Yeah.
Ooh, I am thinking
someone from the night desk who's ready to push you to the next level. Maybe
I am thinking too. How about this? Your big rival for stories is a changeling.
Oh, yes.
Because they're really good at digging in there, and some of their investigative reporting is a little easier for them than for your crew, because they can blend in a lot better.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we actually have quite a bit to go on here. Like I said, go ahead and fill out the sheet. I don't think it's even going to be that hard to get going on rules once we get playing this, because a lot of this is either your ability has you spend action points to trigger it, or it's going to be a roll of the D20. There's not really a whole lot outside of all of that. But yeah, if you just want to fill out that sheet, if you can get me a copy, I would appreciate the copy of the character sheets, and just so I can get a chance to look over them. I will unfortunately have to say, in 2 weeks, when I would have done this, is my anniversary. So unfortunately, right after we start, I'm going to have to skip that next session. So I apologize for that. I'm not really apologizing for the anniversary. I'm just apologizing for the fact that once we finally got all this going, 2 weeks from now doesn't work out as well as it could. So But then, so unfortunately, it'll be a month from now once we get started, but it'll give us plenty of time to be able to flesh out things with the characters. And I'll get all the copies, and I will start building out the Google Sheet so we have everything shared.
We do need to name our paper.
That's true.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, since it's not like what is the name of the big? It's not the big Sharn newspaper.
Yeah, that's like the Sharn Inquisitor or something.
Yeah.
No, we should be like the Corvair Courier or the Daily Cantrip or something.
I like the Daily Cantrip.
The Daily Cantrip.
I like that one.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
It's a little
Often
meta.
just shortened to the Daily.
Yeah, I think I like the shortened version better. I don't know if I like the Daily Cantrip.
What if I want to look through and find a good neighborhood, near that would incorporate all of these locations that we got. But what if it was the neighborhood daily? Whatever the name of the neighborhood is.
I think the Daily makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's the 5 districts in Sharn, right? Or so we
Yeah.
could definitely do that. Yeah.
I was also thinking that it could be something along the lines of the Seeker, or I don't know, something like that, because I do like investigative papers that have those names. I don't know. But yeah, the Daily. I mean, the Daily is it's a great, easy to use, simple word phrase to throw out.
I think I'll try and zero in a little bit better on what district you're based in, and we can do the district daily, and then I think that'll work. And also, if we're using the district name, that is kind of the signifier that you're not the big Sharn paper. You're kind of, this one area's, and I think that'll be good. Does anyone have anything else they want to throw out?
I'm ready. I got a name. I'm ready.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I've got my name picked out as well.
Same here.
Awesome. All right, then. Well, I eagerly await all of the character sheets. And like I said, I'll build out the Google Sheet and get it shared with everyone. I just like to say, for anybody watching this or listening to this, thank you for coming along with us for our session 0. So far, Bob is really good luck for me, because I have had 2 really awesome session 0 since I have Bob here. But honestly, it's because these are really quality people that I have here. And thank you all for joining this game. I really appreciate it. And again, you guys have given me some great ideas here. And I would just like to go through and see if anybody has any last thoughts. Bob, do you have any last things you'd like to say before we put an end in the session 0 here?
Yeah, just looking forward to getting started. It's an interesting crew, and I'm excited about where we're going to go.
All right, that's awesome. PK, do you have any thoughts? Any last thoughts you would like to share?
No, I'm just I'm excited. This is a new character concept for me, so I'm gonna enjoy digging in and playing something well outside my normal wheelhouse.
This will definitely be fun. Smitty, do you have any last thoughts you care to share?
I mean, I'm just excited to play with a bunch of great role players in a interesting, if not a little odd setting of a newsroom in like a semi-fantasy setting. I think is a really interesting choice, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
That is great. And John, do you have any last minute things you'd like to share?
I apologize to everyone for trying to turn this into the Hudsucker proxy, but this will be a lot of fun.
I am definitely looking forward to this. I will see everyone. Like I said, unfortunately, it'll be a month, but I will get everything built out and we can jump straight in. And I am super excited to get going here. For everybody that's been watching or listening, thank you for joining us. And I'll see you or hear you or whatever in a month. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.